You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Welcome back. So I'm going to make a statement, and it goes, don't wait to talk until you're emotionally compelled to. So again, this is just something where, I see this in my own life. I see it with issues. I see it within relationships. And that's one of the things that just kind of compelled that process of thought. Was I do a lot of self-reflecting. That's just one of the funny things about myself, and I'm sure there are other people out there like myself, where there was one day I was at work and a guy, as he said, I saw you talking to yourself, and I just responded, well, you just noticed. That's the only difference, because how I put it is, if I'm not talking, I'm thinking. And so anyhow, but that was one of the things I was thinking about, was that, a lot of times when my wife and I butt heads or have issues, a lot of times on both sides, from both of us, one of the biggest issues is when we feel compelled to talk about an issue, is when we're emotionally compelled, when we can no longer bottle it in. And I think a lot of the reasons why we bottle things in is that I think a lot of us do want to be non-confrontational. Not that we're too cowardice or too insecure or not strong enough, but the fact that I think deep down a lot of us do want to be tolerant human beings. And so a lot of us, like I say, we brush things off. But the problem with that process is, if you keep brushing things off and they keep building up, there's a certain point where it overloads, it spills over, and then you blow up in an emotional wreck, which is again, it's counterproductive for both parties. It's counterproductive for the individual you're blasting at, because all they're going to see is your emotional blow up. They're not going to see the build up to it. They're going to think, I did something that, I could see was kind of insensitive. But it didn't demand this type of response, and so again, you're not going to see the error in your ways if someone just blasts at you and attacks you. And again, too, for the individual blowing up, it's not good, because a lot of the times people do have legitimate reasons why they're upset, why they're frustrated. But if the only time you communicate these issues is when you blow up.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
Did you order the code red?
I did the job.
Did you order the code red?
You're goddamn right I did!
And are emotional, again, you're not going to have your problem heard, and therefore it's not going to resolve anything. And so again, that was just one of the things I was thinking about, was I think it's important for us to communicate, but to do so, I don't want to say expecting it to happen, or I don't know, my mind's going blank on that, but that was just one of the things I was thinking about, was, even from myself, one of the things I thought about with these types of communicational issues in relationships is, maybe it's just healthy to plan to communicate, to have a weekly or bi-weekly or whatever, depending on your schedule or the severity of the headbutting. But I think it's just important to have these discussions where you can air out your issues, but do so in a clear mind, because I've noticed that when I can identify what's bothering me, the specific action, and just voice that and just say, hey, this is happening, this is how I'm taking it, this is how it makes me feel. You might not intend that way. I'm heard. My wife or whoever I'm discussing the issue with is much more receptive to what I'm saying, because I'm being direct, and I'm not fabricating. I'm not making, like I said, it's not one of those things where there's an issue, but I bring, months and months of issues all at once. And so again, it's hard for somebody to feel remorse for something that they're not aware of, that they're not actively doing. Or again, I can see the error in my ways if I just did something, but if you're going to conjure something up that happened a long time ago, or that I was not even aware was an issue, it's going to be very hard for me to feel remorse if somehow I'm supposed to be able to read your mind and identify that this is an issue. And I do the same thing. Like I said, there are plenty of times where I bottle things up. My mindset being is, one, I'm avoiding confrontation, and two, I'm also realizing that we all make mistakes. Again, I'm trying to be objective and identify that the person probably didn't mean anything by it. But if it's still eating at me and I'm not voicing it, I'm not communicating it, it's more likely that I'm going to erupt in an emotional response, which, as I said, if you wait until you're emotionally compelled to, you're more than likely not going to be rational. You're more than likely not going to be coherent to where someone's going to hear your issue. So again, just trying to seek justification for yourself and seek resolution for yourself, it's important to communicate these issues before you respond emotionally. Because again, you can stay on point, you can address the issue itself, and again too, not add a bunch of other things that have happened a long time ago. It's one of those, the principle being is that, I can't stop something, I can't fix something if I don't know it's broken. I can't stop behavior that's negative, that in my mind isn't negative, if I'm not told it's negative. So again, it's just one of those things where to actually get resolution, I think it's important to do that. And again, that's, I think, one of the biggest reasons why we're seeing such decay within our society with all these political issues, with all these social issues, is that for so long, these issues were not discussed. For so long, the injustices weren't discussed. And so that's one of the things where I'm not justifying people who aren't, supporting the validity of injustices. I'm not saying that they're 100% right and the people who are attacking them are 100% wrong. But what I am saying is that, for example, one of the statements I saw a little while back was that if you're not part of the solution, if you're not protesting and constantly actively fighting racism, then you are racism, you are the problem. And I'm just like, well, not to be a jerk, but if that's the premise of being part of the problem, well, Black Lives Matter started not that long ago. So were we all part of the problem? Were you all? I mean, so again, that's using their objectives and their logic against them. And I'm not trying to say that this is how you win a fight. I'm just saying that if you're going to have a level of standards, you need to hold everyone to that same standard. And there are a lot of standards I'm seeing in society that aren't consistently applied. And so it's just really important to make that identification, so that, like I said, we can move these conversations forward, so we can start helping each other with issues that aren't our own, but help our neighbors with things that they're fighting with. Make each other's issues part of our own, to where we can unite and resolve these things. But again, a lot of it comes back to communicating before you're emotional, communicating an issue clearly and effectively. And I understand that some of us are just so emotionally wrapped up in it. So some of us are so engulfed in it, and it's just an ongoing thing. For example, I would not have been a good advocate or representation of a Gold Star family member the first few years after my twin was killed, because emotionally, that's how I would respond. I didn't talk to anybody ever about my twin's loss, his death, how it made me feel, how the country's response made me feel. But again, that was the thing, was that I would not have been a good ambassador for that cause, because the only time I ever did communicate my pain was emotionally, I bottled it up until it just overflew. And then, so I would sound very irrational and very, I would not have supported it effectively. And so that's the thing, is that I understand that as individuals, some of us may not be able to control our emotion. Every time we talk about a subject, those emotions, those deep, raw pain will take over. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, that there's nothing wrong with having your pain consume you, because that's just the nature of pain, sadly. But it's important to make that identification and maybe meet somebody or know somebody or have somebody else represent your pain vocally in public, because again, it's not a matter of I think it's important for everyone to be able to voice their pain. I have no problem, even if you can't control your emotions, of speaking of your personal pain and what you've been through and voicing that. But if you're going to be discussing the intent of others in public, and again too, it's just, so that's the thing, is that people may be on your side with something, but if you start lashing out and attacking people and you justify it by your pain, again, less and less people are going to think it's credible. And it's not that it's not credible, but again, it's about resolution, it's about results. And if I want the best results for my pain, for other people's pain, I need to do what's necessary, not what I think is just. But again, that's why it's really important for people to speak about their pain, but to do so in a calm, collective manner, and to do so when they're not just simply emotionally compelled to. And that's going to my next segment. It's going to be talking about, it's right here. That's right. It just came to me. So what I'm going to be talking about is the importance of talking to people you don't agree with. But that's in the next episode. But you know, hopefully these videos are helping somebody. I've had a handful of my friends who I haven't talked to in years reach out and tell me they are. So that's just immensely rewarding, because that's really what I was trying to do, is just, you know, I've heard a lot of heartbreaking stories, directly and indirectly, of family and friends over the years, and I just don't want them to feel alone in their pain and feel like there's no one that understands it, because as I might discuss issues and make statements of where I stand with certain things, that's one thing specifically, if you're going to talk about pain you've been through, is generally speaking, I don't judge. I don't judge if you feel hate in your heart for certain supporters of certain politicians because of your pain, because I understand that hate. I don't necessarily know it. I certainly don't know your pain. That's one thing that only the individual going through the pain knows, is their pain. No one can know your pain but you. Someone can have knowledge of it, someone can have understanding, but no one knows it. But that is one thing that I have learned through all the pain I've been through in my life, is that I have generally don't judge people for how they react to their pain, because I know how immensely burdening it is. I know how immensely debilitating it is. And that's again something that for myself, when I feel like I can communicate the true raw nature of my pain and I won't be judged for it, you know, however I respond to it, it makes me feel comforted. It makes me feel less alone. And that's something that I feel like is really a huge contributor to someone's mental health, is just the biggest part is just feeling alone with your pain, because pain in itself alienates us. And so if we can't communicate our pain, we're even that more lonely. And it's a horrible feeling. But like I said, I'm going to be talking about the importance of talking to people who you don't agree with in the next episode. But as always, good luck and good night.